Hello, Daphne here. Do you recognize me in this picture? Well, I am the little person on the left-hand side, and that is my mother in the middle and my twin sister on the right. This is an historic newspaper clipping taken years ago when my family was on their way home from a Japanese concentration camp in Shanghai where they were being held. This is a wonderful historic, really, newspaper clipping. I don't know how it just happened that this reporter got the shot of my family, but I treasure this picture. We were passengers on the Swedish Mail Ship known as the Gripshom, which had been changed from a mail ship into a passenger ship with the express purposes of bringing prisoners home. It was an absolutely glorious ship, according to my parents. After all those months in concentration camp, being on a luxury liner was just an unbelievably uplifting experience for them, in contrast to where they had been in those morbid surroundings of concentration camp. Rio was the last stop before arriving home on a 2-month voyage from Shanghai to New York City. I can only imagine what my parents were feeling when they finally received their feeling back. I think it's hard for those of us who have never known what it's like to be without freedom. I just can't imagine what they felt, finally being free as a bird once again. I don't know, being locked up in a concentration camp, that has to be one of the most tragic experiences in one's lifetime. All that time away from getting on with life, from doing the things that we really take for granted every single day long. I mean, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you're living under an incredibly strict sense of rules where any infractions could likely get your head cut off or some kind of really severe punishment. But anyway, my dearly beloved parents, and oh my goodness, they were wonderful people, were absolutely thrilled to finally be released from concentration camp and make this long voyage home. So I just love this newspaper clipping. I look at my mother and I think what joy must have been dancing around in her head, being free once again. I mean, walking on the streets, going wherever she wanted to go, doing whatever she wanted to do with her 2 twin daughters, one on each arm. So, for those of us who have always experienced freedom, I don't have any way of knowing how my parents felt without it. But I do know one thing, and that is that my parents always told me during their lifetimes that freedom was an extremely precious commodity, and that freedom is not free. It's fought for and died for. But oh my goodness, I just love the fact that my parents finally were freed and were able to return to my father's native state, which was California. But it was sort of tragic in a way for them because they absolutely adored Shanghai. They loved the life there. They had a glorious life. My father was a prominent doctor, and he treated high-profile patients like Chiang Kai-shek. He was a very, very popular person to famous people in Shanghai because he was such a gentle, well, I guess what they always said about him is he had a very gentle bedside manner. But my parents also lived a glamorous life. They were on the top of everybody's list for parties. I know that they really were sad to leave Shanghai and to leave that life that they enjoyed for so many years there. I guess about 10 or 15 before they were thrown into concentration camp, and then finally released to return to the United States. But anyway, that's the story of this newspaper clipping with the title "San Francisco Family Arrive in Rio Aboard the Gripshom." Oh, I can only imagine how happy they were in a wonderful, wonderful, gay, and happy place like Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Oh, what an interesting family history I have.